Hey everyone, the parable I chose for my parable recreation project was the parable of the sower. You can find this parable in the Gospel of Matthew 13:3-9, the Gospel of Mark 4:3-9, and the Gospel of Luke 8:4-8. So this is the original parable. And when a great crowd was gathering, and people from town after town came to him, he said in a parable, A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell along the path, and was trampled under foot, and the birds of the air devoured it. And some fell on the rock, and as it grew up, it withered away, because it had no moisture. Some fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. And some fell into good soil, and grew, and yielded 100-fold. As he said these things, he called out, He who has ears to hear, let him hear. So the modernized parable I came up with is a CEO of a company sent out an email to his employees on how to become more successful within the company. Some of the people who read the email viewed the information but were busy and pushed the email to the side and forgot about it. Another group of people received the email and were excited at the idea of moving up within the company, but were deterred by the hard work and long hours it was going to take. The others that received the email scoffed at it and dismissed it as propaganda to get them to work harder for no reward. But one group took the CEO's word and worked hard at the things that he said in the email. The group reaped the benefits and were promoted within the company. So the meaning of the original parable is the seed is the word of God, and the 4 types of soil are a metaphor for the kinds of people that Jesus was preaching to in the crowd. Jesus knew that there were unfertile soils, or people who had the rocky soil or the thorny soil. Those types of people were in the crowd, and those were the people who would hear the word but do nothing with it. Jesus chose to spread the word of God regardless of what the person would do with it or what type of person was in the crowd. So the first century audience was able to identify with agriculture because agriculture was a big part of people's lives in the first century. It was easy for them to relate to something to do with agriculture or nature. The soil types reflected how the seeds would produce, and Jesus chose these soils to represent how a person would use the Word of God. Jesus' message was more about the seed or the Word rather than the type of person or the type of soil that it was being implanted in. So for modern day Christians, I think modern day Christians hear the parable and gravitate towards wanting to be the more fruitful soil or the more productive soil. Also, modern day Christians understand that the seed or the Word of God is for everyone, and in this case is for all types of soil. So my understanding of this parable is that the whole theme of the parable to me is growth, and it's that we all need to grow regardless of which type of soil we identify as. It's also my belief that Jesus intended for this parable to be more about spreading the word of God rather than the type of person that was receiving it. And that just means that Jesus knew that everyone needed to hear the word of God. I also believe that through this parable, it can help us cultivate change within ourselves, and we may be working with a thorny or rocky soil, but when hearing the Word of God, we can grow with it and change our soils to become a more fruitful or productive soil. And that is my understanding of the parable. And this is the end of my slide. Thank you.